Hello boys, welcome back to the channel. So from the video title you can tell this video is going to be about a comic book venture I had several years ago, almost 6 years ago. It's going to be about that. It's going to be about the book I released a little over a month ago on February 19th, and it's going to be about how these projects went, like expectations I had going in, and just talking about like the books themselves. The comic book series was like an early prototype of the book, so I thought this would be kind of interesting. I don't know, I thought it'd be all right. There's going to be some stories mixed in from my life, and this will probably be a longer video, so get comfortable, I guess, or whatever. But the real question is, why do I write? Why do comics? Why do books?
Who, me? Well, it's pretty simple, really. For the money.
Huh?
Money can buy everything you've ever wanted!
For the money, of course. If only that were true. But yeah, these were kind of passion projects, and yeah, I thought they were kind of interesting. There are going to be spoilers for the entire book, Dullahan Samradra, which is a dark fantasy book. It's with Irish mythology. This young girl hires a man and this disembodied head to find her father while there's this war going on. You can read the first chapter on my Substack for free. The prologue is also up there. And also, I just put it up there, but the first 3 issues of Plague Knight, which is actually just Dullahan, are also up there. These are bad, but these are like an early prototype of the book. So the book is much higher quality, but I thought it'd be interesting for people to like compare and contrast and just take a look at them. These are like early like proof of concept stuff. I'm going to be talking about the comic book first and then the book. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the book, you can watch some of this video. I will have a timestamp hopefully on the screen right now, and also in the description where, here's the comic book, and then I start talking about the book with spoilers for the book, and then I'll have timestamp for when the book talk is done. But yeah, I think you would get more out of this video if you have read the book, but I still think there's enough in there where if you don't really give a shit about the book or that, you could still find it kind of interesting. So let's get to it. Boys, I had so many Pepes lined up for this vid. I had cigar smoking Pepe blowing smoke in your face. I had Pepe drinking champagne and you're like the upset Wojak who has to pour him champagne. I had Donald Duck tossing you a coin as I turned my nose up at you. I had just so many, like you're Eddie Coyle and I'm Peter Boyle, because, it's been a month, so the money has been rolling in. I've been making stacks and stacks of it. I've shot to the top of the Amazon bestsellers list. I've gotten a total of, 1 for now review, but that's going to spike. So maybe it fell a little short of all that, but whatever. Starting with the story time 2 years ago. Bear with me. I didn't really have a plan for college. Like right after I graduated high school, it's like, I don't know what I really want to do, but my parents like, you are going to college. You're going to get a bachelor's degree. We don't care what it's in, but you have to go to college. It's not an option to not or do something else. So I'm like, okay. So I went to college. It's like I can understand it a bit from their point of view. They're a bit older because in their day, a bachelor's degree really meant something, right? Just having a bachelor's was a big deal because not a lot of people went to college. Unfortunately, that's not really the case now because bachelor degrees are very common, and also just the academic standards have dropped so much that having a college degree doesn't mean a whole lot. So I didn't really have a plan going in. I had nothing, but I did enjoy reading and writing, so I did English, and that was a fucking mistake. But I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of fun. I like to read. So that was dumb. Don't do that. I'm going to offer you very milk toast basic bitch like advice throughout this video, so you're welcome for that too. Did college and it wasn't really useful at all. I did like creative writing, so at best you would have like some English classes. You had maybe of your 4 years, 2 years of classes that were English, and not even those 2 years worth of classes were relevant to you. It's like, okay, here's Shakespeare, and it's like, should you like maybe see some Shakespeare stuff or like read plays in your free time? Sure. What does Shakespeare have to do with like you writing a book? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But it's like a fucking requirement. And just other shit like that where it's like, this isn't actually about you writing. It's not about you being like a better reader. Like if someone came out with like Shakespeare today, it would tank. It would bomb. It wouldn't do well. So it's like, what does this have to do with my degree? Exactly. And just a lot of classes that were just bullshit. In terms of like creative writing, it's like you're only really writing like short stories, and you're just having like these little workshops and like circles, and it's very gay. You're not allowed to like tear into people or like give like harsh criticism. So it wasn't like super useful overall. It's just, I don't know. I graduated, right? I did in 4 years, but it was not very fucking good. You also get lied to quite a bit. Your teachers will come up and say, yeah, they're looking for people with English degrees, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot you can do. There's not. There's not a ton of jobs. One, definitely for creative writing. That's really fucking bad. But basically, like any English degree is not very good. You know, you can't really go places with that, but you'll have teachers that'll just like, I heard this a lot. You know, like I heard this a lot where it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot you can do with this, blah, 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 this thing, that thing, whatever. And it's bullshit, by the way. You probably knew that, but I'm not very bright. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll get a job when I'm done. It'll be fine. And while I was in college, like I had been like writing stories for like myself for a while. And I had this idea in my head. There was like this warrior guy riding around. He's fighting monsters and shit. And he had this talking head with him. And it wasn't about, you know, Irish mythology or anything like that yet, but it became about like Ireland and Irish mythology in my third year when I took this course in Irish literature, and I really liked it. And then I started researching like Irish history and then Irish mythology. It was really cool stuff. It was like really great stuff. I loved it. So I guess I could say like that was the one like little positive thing, but I feel like I could have figured that out myself outside of college just because I had a warrior with a talking head, and that's already basically a Dualhan. So yeah, I'm not going to give like college points for that shit. And then this story just turned into all about Ireland and like Irish mythology. It's really cool. There's this one painter I like. His name's John Duncan. He was Scottish. He was a Celtic revivalist. And he did a bunch of really great paintings that was about like Irish and like Scottish and just like Celtic mythology. And I have this one in my house. It's beautiful. It's called The Coming of the Fomor. And the Fomor, they are the Fomorians. And it's not like a direct comparison. It's not like a one for one. But in Greek mythology, you have like the Greek gods, and then you have the Titans. And the Titans are kind of like evil, more kind of like primordial forces. And the Fomorians are kind of that to the Irish gods. So, anyway, I like it. It was neat. And I decided that after I finished with college, I was going to have this be a comic book. I thought that would be kind of interesting, right? So, it was like May 2018, I graduated. And then it wasn't exactly right away. I had some trouble like finding an artist. But it was like summer 2018 that I started to work on this comic. And I had zero experience with comic book writing or really any writing. I think the year before, I wrote a really bad screenplay for myself. And that was basically it, outside of like short stories and just college workshops, you know, and those were very bad. I had a roommate leave college sophomore year. We had the same major. And he said he was like concerned that he wouldn't get a job in this field. And I said, I don't know, man, like maybe. And I just stayed in. I didn't know what else to do. And my parents just insisted that I graduate. So I just kind of went along with it. I didn't really assert myself. I don't know what my plan would have been. If I had dropped out, I probably would have had to just get a different major in something. And that would have been smarter. But I guess maybe that was also sunk cost fallacy. And when I had graduated, I was just doing like seasonal blue collar job stuff with low pay, but that didn't matter because I was about to become a successful comic book writer. I was about to make money. So what was the big deal if I wasn't making money at the time? I did apply for like English stuff and like writing jobs. There's not a lot of them. Shocking, I know. Also, I don't live in LA or New York, so you're kind of limited. And I also didn't get like a fucking English like teaching degree. So you're like even more limited. And it wasn't like technical writing or something like that. So it's kind of fucked for options. I will not forget though that my mom did say I didn't really apply for English degree jobs, and I did. I just didn't get an offer, like ever. So whatever, I'm not bitter about that. Never said that to my brother that he didn't really try or whatever, and he's just kind of a fucking loser, but he's still the favorite. Not that I'm bitter about it. I'm not bitter about it. And it's like, hypothetically, if I had gotten in with like a publishing house and I was like an agent or something, which is extremely doubtful, but if that had happened, no one wants to hire like the straight white male. Let's not even get into the politics. That's not like a little like kind of faggy cuck guy, and I would have been the first to go. So it's doubtful that it would have worked out anyways. And it's like, I'm not like above blue collar work. It's what I do. It's just, yeah, I couldn't really do anything with my degree. I don't know if I would call it like criminal, but the amount of teachers that would tell you like very directly, like, oh yeah, I'm like pretty confident you're going to get a job outside of here. And like, I don't know anyone. I kept in contact with some people and we were like all in the, we were all getting like English degrees. There's no one that I know that's like doing something in that field like at all. But whatever. Why do a comic book? It's just kind of how I imagined it in my head. And I was also somewhat insecure about my writing, so I thought if it was in comic book format, I would be forgiven more easily, and there would at least be like good art to balance it out. And yeah, I was just a bit insecure about like my writing, just like, it's just you to take the blame if it sucks, right? So that's why I wanted to do a comic. So this was about 6 years ago, and I actually had a comic book artist that I was introduced to IRL. We were both like fresh out of college, right? He wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a writer. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. And I thought it'd be cool for the both of us to like rise up together. He was not a great guy. He did maybe a page and a half that were complete, and then like another half page that was unfinished. And then he was done. He refunded me some of the money that I fronted him, and that was it. Yeah, it wasn't good. I didn't like give him a ton of money to start with, so I was like maybe cheated out like $50, but not much I could do there. Very fucking gay. I thought that would not happen because it was someone IRL, but no, he was still kind of a piece of shit. However, this did not daunt me, and I started looking for a new artist right away, and I found one pretty quick online. We ended up making 4 issues of Plague Knight, which is Dullahan, but it was a much worse title back then, like very fucking bad. Got the question a lot, like, why not just do a book? Why not just do a book? I don't know. I think part of it was just insecurity, and I thought like if like I did a comic book and like it got popular and people could share like the art around, that would be something, right? It would like have more traction than just like, here are some like cool pages from this book I liked. Like I don't think those would be shared like as easily, but people do have like manga and stuff and comics, like here's this great panel or whatever. So I thought that would help with like advertising too. I rushed into creating this. I think I wanted to prove my degree did something and that I didn't waste 4 years of my life getting this degree, and I did. And I wanted to tell people that I'm doing like this or that, like I'm making a comic, I'm doing a book, I'm doing whatever, instead of like having to just tell people that, oh yeah, you went to college. It's like, yeah, I got this English degree and now I just work this shitty job. I just like wanted something where it's like, actually, I'm doing a comic book. Like actually, I'm doing a comic book and I'm about to be a very big deal. I had very high hopes for myself. While the will was there, the talent was not there. And it won't take you very long to read, but you can just pop over to Substack and check out the first 3 issues. They're not very good. And for like my first like published or like public project, it feels very much like a rough first draft, like a proof of concept. I think there are some things going for it that are good, and I liked it at the time, but once it failed, and it did fail, spoilers, and I had some distance from it, I saw that it wasn't very good. If I had seen this online and someone asked me if I wanted to buy it, I probably would have skipped right over it. It's just true. That's just true, you know? It was a lot of effort. It was a culmination of like a lot of ideas and everything, and I would have skipped right over it. I actually had a very early hurdle in the comic. Pig, who's the talking head, he did not have a ponytail at first. And in Dualhan in the book and also in Plague Knight, Dualhan, he ties Pig's ponytail onto his belt. That's how he carries him around. But like, it was like just before issue 1 was about to be finished, and I was like working on the draft, and I'm like, hang on, wait a minute. I had not thought of this before. Shows you how well thought out this was, right? Like this very basic question. But I was like, how does Dualhan carry him around? Like in a bag, in a net. He like jams Pig onto a hook. He puts him under his arm. And then I'm like, ponytail? And he like ties the ponytail to his belt. And I'm like, yeah, that works. Some changes from the comic book to Dualhan Samradra, like the book. 1, Plague Knight. Horrible title. Just fucking terrible. Dualhan is a much better title, but you can see it in issue 1. I was too autistic about it, and I'm like, well, since he has a head on his body and he carries a head around, he can't be a Dualhan. That's not like the official definition. He's not a Dualhan. That's retarded. I'm not going to do a play-by-play of all the comic book stuff, and nor am I going to do that for the book. Because this is more of, I guess, like a pseudo director's commentary, just pointing out interesting stuff, like some challenges I had with it, whatever. If you do want to just like have it all, read it on the Substack. It'll take 10 minutes. In issue 1 of the comic, we still open up like first panel with Samradra. So that means summer in Irish, because the book series is supposed to be 4 books. And each book is going to cover 1 season, and it's going to take place over the course of 1 year. So even back then, I still had the idea to break it up by season. So that's a carryover from the comic to here. And we have this like tavern and inn for 2 panels. The doors are wrong. Those are like Old West doors. So that's a big fucking issue, and I should have dealt with that there and then. I think I just went along with it. And I just like, I had an idea, like a very basic idea of like what Ireland looked like back then. And I'm like, they wouldn't have had those fucking doors. So that's bad.
You know, we could sit here and point fingers all day. I've got news for you. Even if those 2 pages were in there, the book still would have sucked.
Dualhan now is pretty different from Plague Knight back then. So I'm just going to point some stuff out that's no longer there. This place, like this inn, would be something in like Plague's and Pig's memory. And he'd uncover this as the story unraveled. There was also something scorched in the tent when they woke up. We have the woman in blue who no longer exists in Dualhan. She kind of got split up and broken into like a couple different characters, but you can kind of see traces of her in a few of the characters in Dualhan. We have a little bit of color in these comic book issues, even though like the series is black and white. This is a bad choice. Like, you go all in with color or you go all in with black and white. Don't just mix and match and shit. It's not cute. It doesn't work. That was a bad choice. I think the blue for the woman in blue looks good, but the color in like issue 2 for sure, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. This woman in blue here, she's like the start of like the mysteries, and yeah. Pig is very different. He is still like the talkative one of the pair, but in the comic he's like kind of sinister and ominous, while Dualhan is like the nicer, caring one, and that kind of inverted. Not that Dualhan's like a bad dude in Dualhan, but he's the more reserved of the two. But they're both still like good people, right? But Pig's like, he's a little sinister. He's kind of a piece of shit in these comics. So I'm glad that changed. Here's a little red herring. This is not in the book at all. So this is not in the book at all. That like maybe Dualhan was like a real Dualhan because he's got like those scars on his neck. Like somehow he like got his head back and he sewed it onto his body or some shit. Also, he can't talk. He can't fucking talk. That's a mistake. You can have the strong and silent type character and still have him talk, right? But just taking away the option for him to ever speak was a bad choice. That was a very bad choice. Just get roped along with storming this fortress. There's this clumsy gossip and world building. It's not very good. It's very heavy, right? The dialogue is just way too heavy. Like, I'm just cramming in as much of it as I can. It doesn't really work. I didn't speak these lines before writing them down, so they don't sound great. I think in Dualahan it's better. I still feel like the dialogue is a little heavy in places, but I think it's a much stronger improvement over this comic. The core is still here, though. We have the war between Ulster and the rest of Ireland. We have monsters and mysteries. There's a battle. We have Plague and Pig. And there's this darkness in this issue. It's kind of dark, right? We have prisoners being killed after they've surrendered. Slaves are being taken. Dualahan and Pig, they see this boy that's chained up, and they're not willing to fight all these guys to try to free him and get killed in the process. So they ride on. There's nothing that they can do there. We have this Bobbed. Okay, Bobbed is an Irish goddess. She's the Morgan is sometimes a triple figure goddess, right? There's Morgan, Matcha, Bobbed, and sometimes those kind of change around, but she's supposed to be kind of a war goddess. She's not a character in Dualahan. She does not exist in Dualahan. And she's there with no eyes, and I'm oh, she's kind of creepy. And then the reader would be whoa, what the fuck's going on, man? That's insane. Oh, my mind's blown. Yeah, not very good. Her dialogue is too much as well. The comics were kind of Monster of the Week stuff, which I felt was okay. And then there's some lore shit happening in the background. So I thought that was fine. Issue 1, they just end on this quest to find the woman in blue. And chapter 1 of Dualahan ends with them looking for Neve's father. So it's similar in some ways. Yeah, there's some carryover. Issue 2, The Bog. We start with a grandmother and her grandson. They're burying butter in this bog, which is something that Irish people really did. It's very cool. And it makes a reappearance in Dualahan Samradra in the chapter that is literally called Bog Butter. But they also cut turf bricks in that chapter to use as fuel. Anyways, they literally buried it. It was there to hide it from raiders. It was to store it. If there was times of famine, you could dig it up. And it was also a method of refrigeration. It was very cool. But we got people lost in this bog in this issue. One of the soldiers is a refugee from M and Matcha, which is a place in Ulster where the usurper now reigns. Pig doesn't want to help these fucking people, but Plague does, so they stay. And their roles have been, kind of reversed, like I said. They wade out into this bog, and then they get ripped apart by these monsters. Pure black and white would have been a lot better. This color is just clumsy. It doesn't work. It doesn't look good. But I'm the one that thought, hey, maybe color would kind of attract readers or something. I don't know. It was retarded. Just a series of bad decisions, right? Plague's carrying this wounded man out of the bog, and Pig wants him to drop him, but he's not going to drop him. But despite all of his efforts, despite all of his struggle, this man is killed. The woman who is looking for her children is dying. She crawls over and finds her kids' corpses, and she holds them as she dies. That's dark. And a monster jumps out and kills a dude that Plague was carrying, so now he's covered in blood, but he's not wounded himself. That's deep. That's really deep. Issue 3, The Three Gods of Art. And Bog, something similar might happen in book 3 of the Dualahan book series, but I don't have a corresponding chapter to it, nor do I have one for issue 1. But issue 3, we have a corresponding chapter in Dualahan. It's literally called The Three Gods of Art, but it has changed quite a bit. So if you've read the book and then you compare it to the comic book issue, that'd be kind of neat, right? And you can look at did it improve? Hopefully, because the issue's really fucking bad. I think it's night and day in terms of quality, but the bones are there. The bones are there. We have 3 craftsman brothers that go to Tir na Nog, and that's the world below Ireland. It's kind of the home of the Irish gods. And they're there to steal tools from the gods, and they're sent here by someone named Dub, who is no longer a character in Dualahan. They got cut. One of the brothers, he drinks there, and the brothers are lazy. One of them's lazy, one of them's an alcoholic, one's a gambler, and they're supposed to keep 2 of these tools and hand over the third to Dub. Why not grab 4? I don't fucking know, but they didn't. I don't know why I wrote it that way, but they only grabbed 3. They could have grabbed 4. They could have grabbed 6, but they grabbed 3. And they get ambushed by a monster who's one of the 3 gods of art. And they were given this like concoction by Dub. It's not really explained well, but they just throw it on him and he melts. He is much cooler in Dualhan. Look out for him. He has great art. Back on the surface, and here's Dualhan. He doesn't bleed from his wounds, and he doesn't need to eat or drink. Pig is the one who doesn't need to eat or drink in the book. And Dualhan, he bleeds and all that. He gets hurt. Dualhan wants to reassure Pig that things are going to be okay, and he kind of knights him. It looks bad. I should have rewritten it. That he pats his head or something, but it looks very awkward here. The brothers managed to make their way back to the surface, and these tools, they won't leave their hands, so that detail stayed. That carried over. I thought that was a good detail. One of the brothers has an upset stomach. He's the one that just drank a bottle from the 3 Gods of Art house, right? So he has an upset stomach. Then some bad, kind of clumsy dialogue. We have Luk Tang. He's here. Pig knows about this stuff, the Irish gods, and I think that's wrong since he's not supposed to have a memory, just like Dualhan, but I think, that didn't really work well. It worked better in the book. He's on the same page as Dualhan. Luk Tang still has faces trapped in his body from people that he's killed, and then here's Gobnu. And now I know you're wondering, you are my very dear reader who takes notes and everything, how did Gobnu go from a bottle of drink to this guy's stomach? How was Gobnu already in that bottle? And that's how this works, because he bursts out of this guy's stomach. So how does that work, Whitefield Media? I don't fucking know. It doesn't make sense. I think I was trying to do something the guy cursed himself by stealing from the gods and drinking it. So somehow Gobnu ended up bursting out of this guy's chest. It doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work. I had an initial idea of 2 red arms bursting out of a man's chest and strangling a guy. It works better in the book, where Gobnu fights and then burrows into this guy and then he bursts out. But it doesn't make sense here. And here's some of this artwork. Gobnu, to me, looking back at it now, I thought it looked fine then. He kind of looks like Popeye to me. Hey, put up your dukes. He sort of looks like that. He's a little weird. And that's the issue. It's also not very good. That's, 3 issues. All 3 not very good. By the end of issue 3, we have Dub. He's handing over one of the tools of the gods to a member of the Fianna of Ulster. We have this huge info dump. It's very bad. The House of Dawn is under siege, which is also true in the book series. There's a woman with a talking Simon under her flesh. She's mentioned. Carmen was a character here, but her salmon doesn't talk now, and she has a bigger role in the Dualhan book series. That'd be dumb if the salmon under her talked. That was a very bad idea. And the Fianna member who takes the tool, he no longer exists. He also mentions a pale worm. I think he's talking about Egg, who doesn't serve the usurper. He serves Brian Boru in the book series. So those are the first 3 issues of the comic. There were actually 4 issues made, like I said, but I didn't want to publish the 4th one because it has characters in it that are actually still in Dualhan. They are going to appear in book 2, so I was going to publish issue 4 a month after book 2 comes out, just to avoid people going well, these characters don't match up with what I read and whatever. I guess comment down below if you don't give a shit and you're just morbidly curious to read issue 4, because that's fine with me and I can just publish it right now and just upload it to Substack. Just let me know. I just thought, well, what if people are a little confused? They're that's not the same as the comic. And I'm well, no shit. They're going to know it's not the same, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm probably being a little too autistic about it. Graduated in May of 2018. I wasted some time with that bad artist. And then I think around late July, August, I'd found my good artist that I went with for the 4 issues. And we publish an issue once a month on Patreon. I want to say it was September to December. I know it ended in December of 2018. So, that's probably our first issue. We did have more issues planned, but I was forced to pull the plug. It was a series of unfortunate events.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
So I'm just talking about like the finances of like the comic book attempt. I paid, I think it was maybe around $100 a page or so. It was kind of around there. This was like for the pencils. This was for the ink. It's not cheap to like have comic book art done, but I think that was like a decent rate. Like I felt fine with that rate. And there were like 20-ish pages per issue, sometimes more. And that's not including like the cover art, which was a bit more than that. But it would place, like, because you boys are good at math, you're smart boys. And if we're doing like $100 a page and there's 20 pages, more than that, roughly for everything, it was around $2,500 an issue. Probably a bit more for some of them. And we did 4 issues, meaning it was about $10,000 over that. And I was like really excited to launch issue 1. And I just kept telling myself that it'll catch on, it'll catch on. I had no social media presence at that time back then. And it's just like I assumed people would just find out about it. Stupid. It was beyond stupid. It was delusional. And I think the only sales that I got were from like my friends. And you would think like the poor turnout to issue 1 would make me like pump the brakes, make me rethink things.
Hold on. Wait, isn't this that thing they talk about? Where time feels like it's going slower and slower? Right before you die?
But no, I just told myself that this was a new venture, this was a new business venture, and that these things take time, and just keep pushing, it'll work out. And then issue 2, same thing. Like, it'll catch for sure. Just give it a little time. Money or word will spread. How? How is word going to spread? But, oh well. And like the money lost doesn't matter because this is an investment. And since it'll be worth it once I do finally get an audience. And then we had issue 3.
Let's say you're driving along the road with your family, and you're driving along, la-li-la, woo. And then all of a sudden, there's a truck tire in the middle of the road, and you hit the brakes. Whoa, that was close. Now let's see what happens when you're driving with the other guy's brake pads. You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy. Not now, damn it. Truck tire. I can't stop. Help! There's a cliff. And your family's screaming, oh my God, we're burning alive! No, I can't feel my legs!
And there was a bit of sunk cost fallacy. Like, no way, I lost all that money. No fucking way, this isn't fucking happening. And it was not good at the time because I wasn't really making money because I had a very low paying, like just kind of blue collar job, which wasn't supposed to matter because I was about to be a comic book writer. You know, so what was the big deal? Because I was about to make it big, right? Not good. Had to speak to my dad a bit. My dad was like really understanding, and he's just like, "Well, son, like I think you know best." And I'm like, "That's not good. That's not correct." But thank you for like the help. And it was just a total collapse. Issue 4, same story. I had to pull the book. I had to pull the plug on the comic book dream then. And no bullshit, like within the same week in December, I was let go from my job, which was seasonal, and I knew that I was going to be let go because a lot of guys get let go during winter, so I was expecting it. Not that week. So that happened. The comic book failed, like completely, just totally out of money at that point. And also, I got a letter about my student loan payments coming due because it's been like 6 months since I graduated. So that all happened within a week. Just all at once. I'm like, I lost all my savings. It was like $10,000, a bit more that I spent because I was like earning money at the time. It wasn't a lot, but I also put that into the comic. So it was probably close to like 11 or 12. overall for like everything. But my friends and like my dad was there. My dad helped me with like money for a time. They were there to like help me, get me on my feet. And yeah, without them, I don't fucking know. It was a very bad time. But yeah, it was a complete wreck. It was a complete wreck where it's like, oh no, it can't go that bad. Yes, it can. Yes, it fucking can go that bad. And yeah, the dream was dead, just dead in the water. All the little notions I had of making it big, those kind of just went out the window.
See you around, Mr. Homer.
Don't worry, Joey. We'll make it to California someday.
Sure we will, Mr. Homer. Sure we will.
This was a harsh fucking lesson to learn, but it was good for me. I wish it wasn't so expensive or painful, but ultimately trying your best doesn't matter. Spending a lot of money on a project doesn't matter. There's one question. Is it good or is it not? And it wasn't good. It wasn't good. All that money and it wasn't good. I like this movie, Whiplash. It's not a perfect movie, but I do enjoy this. It's this college kid. He wants to make it as drummer. He wants to be like an incredible drummer. And J.K. Simmons is like this really harsh and demanding teacher. But I like this scene.
So imagine if Jones had just said, well, that's okay, Charlie. That was all right. Good job. And Charlie thinks to himself, well, shit, I did do a pretty good job. End of story. No bird.
And it's true. If everyone just says good effort to each other and everyone just gets a trophy, then it's pointless. I didn't get negative feedback on the comic book issues because no one read it, but like several months later, I was able to judge it more objectively. There were some like okay ideas that weren't handled very well, but it just wasn't good. It was a very like rough proof of concept. You know what I mean? It was an expensive proof of concept, and it doesn't matter that I tried, right? It doesn't matter. I still think it was probably good to try and fail and do better. I could do like a series of like cookie cutter financial advice that are just like complete dog shit. You still have to invest in yourself, man, time or money, but have a limit and never cross it. I crossed mine. I lost more money than I could afford to. I don't chase bad money with good money. Total wreck when the comic was failing. I ended up like taking my diploma and ripping it up and I threw it in the trash. I was not in a good mood. And no, I did not donate to my college. Get well soon card. It would be like a so you're financially ruined card. And it would be like a hang in there, pal. And there'd be like a little noose on the inside of the card. We could do that, a series of cards like that. Oh, it's over financially. December 2018, I was unemployed and the comic failed. That was not good. And I could not find any jobs for like an English degree, like anything with English that wasn't like teaching because I didn't have a teaching degree. And so since I didn't have like a good usable degree, it was worth nothing, like literally nothing. I was looking for like blue collar work that like needed no experience or like kind of a special license or anything, which wasn't great. And my parents wanted to help me, so on applications, my parents would suggest putting that I have a degree because it can't hurt to put that you have a degree on an application. It doesn't matter what the job is. It's just like, hey, I have a degree. It absolutely can't hurt you to put that you have a bachelor's degree. For several jobs, I felt strongly that me having a degree was held against me. I felt that they thought that I was too good for this work and that I would leave them as soon as I had a better opportunity somewhere else. And that's not true. But I think they just held it against me. So you have a bachelor's degree? And I'm like, oh yeah, And it's like, I'm not the type of guy they want. They just want like a guy that does blue collar work. And those are like his expectations. I'm like, I'm just looking for a decent paying job, man. I don't give a shit what I'm doing. I just need to make some money. So I wasted some time applying for jobs like this. And then I took the off applications and I got a job soon after. It wasn't a good job, but it was a start and it put some money in my pocket. And then I worked some not great jobs after that and then decent jobs. So decent, stable jobs. Little bit of advice, lie about college. If they ask you, don't put it on the fucking application. And if the guy hiring you asks, so have you ever been to college? It's no, sir, I never went. It just didn't really appeal to me. Just fucking lie. And if they ask you about like your 4-year gap on whatever, just like make shit up. I worked at Amazon. I did landscaping, whatever the fuck. They're not going to check that. So just there's some advice. It just kind of occurred to me. I'd like to make this very clear. This is not like an e-begging video. I'm not asking for money or whatever. I'm sorry if it's come across that way. This is just like part of the story from like going from a comic to writing the book. I am employed. I do have some money. I have my own house. I managed to figure it out. So I'm sorry if it came across that way. This is not the point of the video, but that's just how it went down. That's a part of the story. So, okay, I just want to clear that up. So from like December 2018 to like summer 2023, I didn't do much with Dullahan. I was like writing and rewriting outlines. I put up this tack board in my basement for like artwork, and I would like hang up like concept art I had done like from the comic book artist. I had him do like some concept art, so I hung those up. I got some images that I liked about like Irish mythology and whatever, and I just tacked those up. And I just wrote out a bunch of like chapter ideas and like character synopsises and like how these characters interact with each other. I just wrote all these down on like butcher paper. So like every wall in my basement has these long sheets of brown butcher paper that's just covered in notes and shit. And then I like organize and transfer these notes onto just like other paper. But I like just seeing it all laid out like that. That helped me kind of just like get a feel for it, just really outline everything. It kind of looks like serial killer shit if you go down to my basement and you don't really know me. And then this idea of why not just do a book, right? Why not just listen to those people from back then where it's like, why not just do a book? Why bother with a comic? But I still kind of doubted myself, but I started to inch more towards that because no one was going to do it for me. No one was going to come along and like offer me something. I was going to have to do it myself. And it just felt like I had this story, and it's not like, and it was like, I didn't like want to do it, but like I needed to write it. Like I needed to do it. It felt like I was like rotting. Like it's not that like my life was just like kind of stagnant, and it was just like, it was just staying the same. It was like, it was fucking rotting by not doing this. So I really just had to do it. And even if it went like nowhere, just for like myself, right? Just to do it for like myself and just to get it out there and say, hey, I fucking did something. So, and just like to do it. So I started with like a chapter a week, and it had changed like a lot. Like a lot. It was like actually like outlined, not just like I have some idea of where it's going, where like that was the comic book series. Cause like hypothetically, if that had made a little money, I wouldn't have known where to go with it after a couple of issues. I had some very rough fucking ideas, but not like really detailed and planned out. And it is now. Like it's very outlined. There is a firm ending, and like maybe a few chapters could change a little bit, like in like books 3 or 4 or 2, but it's like, it's very firm where it's going. So it's very different now. Book series, it's called Dullahan now. That's much better. And Pig still talks the most, but he's kind and caring. And if you don't want to be spoiled on the book, if you're interested in reading the book, then I would suggest stopping here and then going ahead to that timestamp I'm going to have on the screen. It's kind of for people who have read the book or they don't care about spoilers at all. And we're just going to get into the book. I'm not going to do like a super in-depth thing. It's just going to be kind of brief, but I'll just talk about like little points of interest. Big difference from the comic to the book is that there are 3 like huge characters. And it's like, it's insane. Like it's hard for me to imagine them not existing, but they didn't exist in the comic. And so like the comic failing is probably a good thing, right? It was probably a good thing because it wasn't very good and I could do it again. And now we have Neve, and now we have Devlin, and now we have Tara, and they're so incredibly important. They're essential to Dullahan. Without them, it's not possible, right? You're just missing like the heart of the story. I like the cover for this. The artist is Neo Crisis. I'll have his link in the description. If you're looking for like artwork, he's great. He's incredible. His work is beautiful. He's done a lot of work for like the Agion guys, and his rates were good. And I was like shocked that he was available and willing to work for me. And yeah, his work just blew me away. He did like 14 interior images for Duel Hunt and the cover. And I really like the cover. I think it shows characters like a little bit. It's not like something busy, like a Marvel movie poster where it's just like overcrowded. And it doesn't feel like this other like kind of fantasy thing where it's like for some like more modern like book covers where it's like a generic like lack of detail. Like you have no idea what the fucking story is about. Or like here's like a person's face, but the top half of the face is missing because you were supposed to put your face there. Or it's like a close-up of a sword or a shield or whatever crap MacGuffin. So I like the cover a lot. My first impulse for the book, and I'm very fucking glad we didn't do this, but my first impulse was to start in a dream sequence, and I don't like that. And it would be like one of the dreams Duel Hunt has where he's like seeing the moths and like Danyu, and I'm really glad we didn't start there. It would have been confusing for one and just kind of gay. Like, start with your feet firmly planted in a book. What's wrong with that? And I'm really happy to start chapter 1 with Neve and her voice, and the prologue is hers too. It is pronounced Neve, like Neeve. I'm awful with the other Irish shit, but I made sure to learn how to say her name correctly. And by having chapter 1 in Neve's POV, we were able to skip Duel Hunt and Pig, like having no memories. Everyone has seen this so many fucking times. It would have just been like, huh? What's going on? Where are we? Did we just wake up? Who are you? You've seen this so many times. But also, I just like for the prologue a little bit, like, here's Neve, right? And then here's Duel Hunt. He's ridden into her life, and he is this omen of death. And she doesn't believe that he's an omen of death, but he is, right? He is kind of this omen of death. Some gripes I have overall for the book for myself. I think I say so too much, and that characters smile and nod and grunt far too often, and it bothers me, but it's done. I can't change it. I will say that I dislike books with too much description. I didn't want to like create like an 800-page fantasy novel. I think that's so fucking gay. I don't like that Brandon Sanderson guy. Or the First Law trilogy, that's very bad, subversive too. The Witcher books, I think they're crap. I didn't like Wheel of Time. That was overwritten. I dislike most things. I really like Black Company. Black Company by Glenn Cook. That's definitely some inspiration for this. Like, I really like that. But I felt like too much description can be bad, but I think I might have like skimped on description here and there. So, but I don't know, like it can slow things down where it's like, okay, would this character really like go on for like a paragraph about how like this thing looks, or like, ooh, let me describe the wood of this chair. It's like, whatever, like they don't give a shit. I was kind of worried I would have too many POVs. I don't think it went overboard, and I think it was like balanced enough where it's like we just have Neve in chapter 1, and then we have Duel Hunt, and then we slowly expand from there. So that felt gradual enough. That felt okay to where it's like you're not being like bounced around, you know, like across the fucking world with POVs, right? I felt that was handled fine. Kind of shied away from like heavy action scenes. You could probably tell if you read the book, but there are some chapters with a lot of it. Like Three Gods has the most. I just didn't want like pages and pages of like worthless fights that mean nothing. Like the equivalent of like fighting like level 3 bandits in like Skyrim or whatever game. It's like, that shouldn't be like several pages. Like the First Law trilogy, don't like it. But that would happen so much where it's like, oh my God, like 5+ pages would be wasted on like the party like fighting like, yeah, just like literal fucking bandits, you know, but it would just keep going and going and going. And I'm like, why do I give a shit? Like this fight doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. So I kind of like, yeah, I did a little less with the action stuff. And I don't know. I don't love it. Like, I feel like action stuff, it just works more, like, obviously, with, like, a visual format. And it's maybe not the best in a book. I was happy to compromise. And that while I can't, like, afford to do, like, a comic this time, I wanted to do something that still had art. So It did take a while to find Neocris, sorry, but he is great. He is great. He breathed life into my crappy writing. There were times where it's like, he like read the book, which was great. He didn't have to do that, but he did. He went that extra step, and that helped so much to where like he like sees it himself instead of like me like feeding him like a paragraph description of like this is what a character looks like. He gets he can see them like walking around and like interacting in the scene and like their emotions and all of that, right? So that was wonderful. But there are times where it's like in the original like draft, Diane Sett, he didn't have like that little scarf thing that he has, but he did. But like, he just drew him and he had a little scarf thing. So I'm like, okay, I like it. I guess I'll add a little scarf to him. Sure. Same with Credhe. Like I described him as like doughy and wide, and then he came out and he just had like this overhanging gunt, and he looked fucking awesome. Like he looked so fucking cool. And Loctane, he like turned into like this muscle tumor monster thing of like these knife hands, and he did such a great job. The Three Gods of Art, that took the longest by far to like get that art right. I didn't make it easy. I'm sorry about that, but it was really patient and it turned out great. Yeah, I don't know. I felt that maybe I used too many Irish myths, like too many myths were brought up, but Irish mythology just isn't as well known as like Greek or like Norse or like Egyptian, like if you just ask a random person on the street, like name 3 like Norse gods, they'd be like Odin, Thor, Loki, you know what I mean? Like the Marvel movies popularized it. But like the Greek stuff, people can name a few, but not really with like Irish mythology, right? And I felt that the early chapters bled a bit from like a comic book format, with it being like Monster of the Week stuff. They ride around, they deal with this or that, but it felt like okay. It felt fine, I guess. Maybe I was just a little worried it carried too much from like the comic book roots. But a lot of like the inspiration, a lot of the stuff that like really made me like fall in love with like Irish mythology, it comes from Lady Gregory. She has this book where she just compiled a bunch of myths. It's called Gods and Fighting Men. I really recommend it if you're interested in Irish mythology. It's about like the mythological cycle. That's my favorite by far. And then it has the Fenian cycle, and that's more about like Finn McCool. It does not have like the cattle raid of Cooley or like the Ulster cycle of Cuchulainn. And I've read that, but I want to do like a closer reading. Like I just did like the mythological cycle again, and I'm doing like the Fenian cycle. And I'll definitely do like the Toyne, or that's the cattle raid of Cooley soon. But I'm just going through like the Fenian cycle right now. But she's very good. I liked having chapter titles with names. I like that. I think that's nice. Fado in Irish, it means like long ago, long ago. It also kind of means like once upon a time, the beginning of a story. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a good title for chapter 1. I'll say that myself. I thought that was a good title. Of the art for Niamh and Fado. She's sitting in this hawthorn tree. And a hawthorn tree in Ireland, it's something that you would like tie ribbons to, and you would like make little like prayers or wishes with these ribbons, and then you would tie them to the tree. And she has her little hawthorn tree, and she's like wishing and praying and hoping that she's going to have a family, and these are what all these ribbons are. And that gets answered in the end. So I'm not going to go in a insane amount of detail for each chapter. Like I said, I'm just going to briefly cover each chapter because I don't want this to be like a 3-hour video. And this is just kind of like a little supplemental thing if you've read the book, right? Or you think it's interesting. But so we did Fado, Girl from Ulster. I think this sets up the tone. Like they're looking for Danu. Dullahan has dreams. He has a bracelet that burns him. Like it feels warm to him and no one else. Like it sets this like, I don't know if I would say a timer, but it's something like this is building to something. Like something is going to happen. Changeling Hunter. Dullahan gets his little love interest. I thought this was cute. It goes bad though, just like Girl from Ulster. We're just carrying that tone. The Fianna of Ulster, we have these beautiful 3 pieces of art. We have Diane Sett. He's a big name in Irish mythology. We have Menannan Menenunenunenun, MacLear. We have Carmen. Carmen has that salmon under her skin. Ooh, what's her story? I know a lot about Irish mythology, and there are these things called the salmon of knowledge. That's weird. Why is she trapped under her skin? Why does she have like apples growing out of? Why does she have like apples growing out of her? Whoa, I gotta know more. Where can I buy book 2? And Diane said he's like this creepy little like bird man, like man vulture. A little bit from Dark Crystal. I'll throw that out there. It's a little bit from Dark Crystal. You can tell. But yeah, I love how he looks. Menanan, he looks great. You know, one of the more famous Irish myths is about the children of Lear. And like one thing with like being in Diane Sett's POV, I was kind of questioning like his, like he has a big backstory in Irish mythology. Or it's like, it's not huge, but he's an important figure, right? But it just didn't make sense for me to like this character in his POV. He wouldn't like be thinking of like his whole backstory back then. But it's like if you know some Irish mythology going in, you kind of understand this character a bit more. And like he will be fleshed out a lot more in book 2. I was just kind of like worried that having too many POVs in book 1 would be like not great for the reader. So whatever, that was a choice I made. So maybe if you're unfamiliar with Irish mythology, I don't think it would like hurt you if you like looked up some of these characters' names to get like kind of a feel. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of not great, but I'm like, I don't know. What was I supposed to do? Like have Diane Sett just randomly think of like a paragraph long, like, oh, here's some information from his backstory. Like it'll get explained in book 2. So whatever. I think like gradually building stuff went okay because these guys all have bracelets that look just like Dualhans, and it's also warm to them. And it's like, what's their fucking connection to each other? So I'm like, I thought that was cool. Cathar Anne. This is something from Lady Gregory's like the mythological cycle. Anne, she is like a goddess, and it's just like one sentence in like this like little page dedicated to Anne. And it's like, she has, like, there's this hill with this magic stone on it, and the hill is guarded by all these mad dogs in Ireland. And if you sit upon the stone 3 times, you will lose your memories forever. And if you, like, sit upon it once, you start to go a little mad. If you sit upon it twice, like, you start to lose some of your memories. And the 3rd time, you lose them all. And I'm like, that's fucking amazing. I can't believe, like, maybe other people have used it, but I'm like, holy shit, I gotta fucking steal this. So yeah, that was super cool. 3 gods. This changed so much. Like the brothers have aged down there. That's different because they went from Tir na nog back to the surface. That also plays with like time being a little fucked up for like Dualhan and like the moths and everything that happened with Danu, right? So I thought that was done okay. Beautiful art, like I said. I think it's much stronger. Like if you look at chapter 3, and if you look at issue 3 of the comic, it's night and fucking day. I think I improved. The Fibroma Druid, this is the first time that Neve says, you saved me. So that's important. So something I did like in college, like just during the summer, I used to work like in a park, and the dead deer in the park inspired it because some of them would die of something called Fibroma, or they would have Fibroma on them, and it's really gross. They're like these black boils. It's fucking nasty. You can look it up, but yeah, it's kind of gross. So that was some of the inspiration for it, and also the story of like Finn McCool and Oisin. And Oisin is like his son. Like Finn was like, he had a wife. This like nasty like kind of druid incel was like, okay, if your wife doesn't want me, then I'm just going to turn her into a deer. So that's what he fucking did. It's kind of weird. But I like that story. The park job was kind of nice. Like it was quiet. Like you would be up really early in the morning and you got to open up the park by yourself and just ride around in the trails. And it was just so peaceful. It's like there's just all this land and you're just alone, right? You're just alone and it's really nice. I made no money doing it, but it was peaceful. Like if I was just like retired or something, I think that'd be a fun job to do, like fine enough. One little bit from there. So while I did go around and like open up the park, you would also have to open up like the bathrooms. And one time when I was opening one of the bathrooms, swimming in the toilet bowl, there was a mouse, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have something to put into the toilet for the mouse to crawl out, and I decided that I was not going to stick my hand into the toilet to pull the mouse out. And this is kind of fucked up. Maybe this isn't good, but I didn't want him to drown, right? Or I don't know. So I flushed him, right? I fucking flushed him. I admit it. I flushed him. It wasn't good, right? It wasn't good. And then one time when I was opening up the dumpster, the dumpsters were pretty full. And then just as I opened up, eye level with me, there's this dead raccoon lying on its side. I screamed a little bit. Monk and Bard, here's Devlin. I thought this was good, and he's a bard, so it makes sense that he's delivering some Irish mythology to us. That felt fine. And also, later on in the book, you realize he's not able to tell Dullahan exactly what he knows or what's going on, but he's able to kind of give him some information by applying these Irish myths to Dullahan's life. You know what I mean? So it's his way of sort of helping out how he can. And we have this connection to Dullahan's past because he also has a bracelet. I think Devlin was a sympathetic antagonist. He's this kind of cowardly servant to Tara, but he has his own kind of fucked up past. So I thought that was okay. Traveling together in Devlin and Dullahan and Spear of Lugh, they talk a lot. Maybe it needed some more action in here, but I don't know. I honestly feel these little action scenes that don't do anything are just unnecessary. So why not just have characters walk and talk? Maybe they walk and talk a little too much. Tara and Carmen appear in Spear. I think this felt fine. It advances the plot. We're curious about Devlin. The Allele stuff that comes from the Book of Leinster. It's just a brief mention, but it's a king. They had some bad crops, so it's written down in the annals of Leinster, and allegedly he went to a hill to speak with Aine. He was overcome by her beauty. He raped her, and then Aine cut his ear off, and so Allele was no longer able to be king because he wasn't of whole body, right? So that's from Book of Leinster. Slavers. There's some tension with Tara. I like the little magic she does when she encounters Neve. Brian Boru, this is fine. We're just introduced to the opposing side. The Fianna of Ulster, yeah, that felt fine. And Conan is shown to have a bracelet like everyone else, and you're oh, cool. Not all of the moths are on the same side, right? They all kind of have their own interests, and I think that's better than just everyone being on the same side, or they're all kind of working together. I think that would make the world feel really small. Neve on the road. We have some info dumping about the Lords of the Loch. This feels terrible. I think this feels bad, but I didn't want too much going on by having some Lords of the Loch or whatever up here, but having two mysterious races the Lords of the Loch and the Wicker Men brought up in the same book was, I don't know, maybe that was too much. I think Dove was okay. Gortamuk was, yeah, fine. You have this breakdown from Dullahan where he just kind of loses it because they've just been through so much shit, and they haven't really saved too many people. They've watched so many people die that it's just getting to them. So I thought that was handled okay. Reunion. Neve says, "You saved me again," for the second time. We had Hunchback. I like this. This is actually something from Yeats' Legend of Knockgrafton. I don't love Yeats. I prefer Lady Gregory to him because she covers the mythological stuff, and he's more of and then this priest showed up, and then the devil was cast out, kind of a thing. And he's leprechauns and the Irish mythology that I don't really care for. Have a drink. I was very pleased with this. I thought this chapter was done really fucking well. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Bog Butter. We have come back from issue 2 of the comic series. Yeah. And also turf bricks. You can no longer buy turf bricks if you live outside of Ireland. I bought some years ago for fire starters. You can't do it anymore. It's some environmental shit. It's very gay. Dark Song. I got some of the inspiration here from Cormac's Adventure into the Land of Promise, where there's this 4 people sit around and they have to tell a story. Like each person tells a story, and each time they tell a story, a fourth of the pig is cooked. So that's what they do here. Also, the golden cup that Devlin has, where it's like if you lie over it, it breaks, and if you tell the truth, it heals itself. That's also from this same story. So we have that. We have the departure from Neve. Dullahan, he can't beat Tara. Like, he can't beat Tara. And even if he was able to, like, get her away from Tara, they wouldn't be able to run. Like, they wouldn't be able to run and make it, so he just kind of, like, accepts it, like, I can't keep her safe, right? We have Gias. We have Devlin, unable to escape his past, and he's kind of wrestled with this in the book, but he can't. He just can't. And he's like tragic in that way. Yeah. Tara is also not just like this kind of cackling, maniacal villain. She's kind of like fucked up about it, but she's also determined to let things follow through, right? Sacrifice, Dullahan, just he's our strong and silent type, and he's shown rage, he's shown like disappointment, but it's very like inner. And now he just he like slaughters Devlin, and he cries over Neve, and it's just like this really like horrific image. I thought maybe it was like too far and kind of like edgelord shit. I don't think it is like edgelord shit, but it is like dark and horrible. To me, like edgelord stuff would be like a bunch of horrible violence and there's like no emotion there. It would just be like really gratuitous and just ugly. I think there's like an emotional punch here. So I don't consider it like edgelord stuff, but it's very dark. Neve says, "You saved me," and this is the 3rd time. So I thought that was done well. Then we just have the little epilogue with Oltan, and Oltan is becoming more stronger because he has one of the 4 treasures of the Tua de Danann. So like, ooh, what's going on with Oltan? I'm interested. After I finished the first draft of the book, I had some friends beta read for it, and then I hired some people on Fiverr, and some of those went okay, and I got some good feedback from unbiased people, and I think that's important to not just go for friends. Some women, Fiverr is like mostly women for beta readers, which is okay, but I'm like, there's like no dudes on this website. The women liked like the found family stuff. That's how they described it with like Neve and Dullahan and Pig. So I'm like, whatever, chicks dig it. Do you think I hired too many beta readers? And going forward, I would like go to friends first, like a friend first, and then I would like maybe pick out like max 2 beta readers. Just have an unbiased third party read it, right? I still think that's important. So what was the cost here compared to the comic book? So the comic book, like each issue was about $2,500, kind of around there for a ballpark. And here, I spent about $1,400 American for art. However, there was a currency difference, so it's about mid 1600s for art. And then I had like editing and beta reading and everything associated with that. So it came out to, in the ballpark, less than the comic issue, but like close. It was like mid 2000 kind of a deal. So it was about the same price as an issue. I think it would be cheaper next time. And like the art was a very great deal. I mean, like 14 interior pieces, they look phenomenal. The cover, all of it. Yeah, that was a deal. That was quite a deal. Also, financially, it wasn't like once a month I'm being hit for like $2,500. This is like very spread out to where it's probably going to be like once a year or so for like paying this amount. So it's a lot easier on me financially. It's manageable. I also have like a much better job now, so that also helps. One thing I will change, like going into book 2 and later on, is to order the art early so I can do drafts and edit the book while art is also being worked on at the same time. Because last time I had like the book done and then I was looking for an artist. That's a mistake. I should have done that sooner because like there was a time when like the book's finished and now some artwork is, now I'm like commissioning the art, and then that's taking a while, and it just takes a while. That's how it is. But I could have like streamlined that process a bit more. So dealing with Amazon, I'll just talk about this very briefly. So on Amazon, it's like, hey, put in your author name, and I just tried to put in White Pill Media, but I ran into an issue because it has to, your author name has to match the name on the cover, and the name on the cover is just WPM. Okay, so I would put like WPM into the first name slot and leave the last name slot blank. That didn't work. You have to have a last name slot. So I put WPM in the first name and WPM in the last name, and it was finally accepted by whatever fucking Indian checks that shit. Turns out that you don't need a first name, but you need a last name. So I could have just put in WPM for the last name slot and been fine. But I didn't fucking know that, and they don't say that on the fucking website. So it is WPM. I can't change it. You cannot change it once a book has been published. So there you go. I'm stuck like that. Not great. Not great. While I was like wrapping up the book, there's just like this anxiety, I guess, like this kind of like manic pressure. I just like wanted it out. I was trying to get like a proof copy at one point, and you can't like order a proof copy through your phone. You need a computer. That was just an awful experience because I was just like out doing shit, and I'm like, I need this proof copy now. Because if I don't get it now, then it's going to be like next fucking week and blah, blah, blah. And I just really, a lot that had to be done. One, make sure that you click on like cream paper and not white paper. White paper is for like business books and shit like that. It really stands out, and it doesn't look good if you do white. So that was an early proof copy. It needed a bunch of edits too, but like they were manageable. I went with Aureus Press to work on those, so that was a big help. And getting like formatted right for Amazon. The book, and it was like live, quote unquote, but you weren't able to buy any copies because it was out of stock of copies for several days. So that was great. I don't know why it told me it was live when you can't actually buy any fucking copies for a few days. But that was annoying. It went live on the 19th, and I had to do like some work shit, so I was going to be kind of like busy for a few days. With like the book going live and people being able to order copies, I also had like some videos that were supposed to release at the same time, and these videos were supposed to be like, you know, promotional and trying to do okay in like the algorithm. Like the King of the Hill, Butts American History X, and that Sons of the Force video. So I wanted these to like launch at the same time. You know what I mean? But I did not. So I had like the videos uploaded on YouTube, but they were private. So I just had to switch them to public. But since I had never like logged into my YouTube from my phone before, and I didn't have the right email, so I had to send my friends to my house, and there's a whole saga, but it got figured out. They were able to get inside and then give me the email I needed. I would have never gotten it myself. And then there you go. So the videos came out, and then I made the announcement, and that was that. I have no clue on everyone else's numbers for like indie sales. Like I don't know if like, hey, this is my book, I sold like 50 copies or whatever. I have no clue where everyone else is, right? For me, as of like right now, it's like, as of right now, I wanted this video to come out on the 22nd. I think it's coming out on the 23rd. But I have 18 copies sold. It's not as many as I kind of thought it would go. I thought it would do a bit better. But yeah, I don't know like how I stack compared to like other people within this thing. So yeah, I really have no clue. Am I in the ballpark? Am I way behind? No idea. This last bit, I'm just talking about the channel, like where I want to go with it. I don't want to make videos where I just monetize outrage and don't offer like anything else, like the anti-woke grift shit, like red, white text, angry soy jack, Kathleen Kennedy will be fired this week. I don't want to do shit like, oh my God, I saw this in like my recommendations. It was like, Doctor reacts to Griffith in Berserk, thing. It's like, I want to put a gun in my fucking mouth. I don't want to do videos like that. I do think I need to like punch outside this orbit to like reach people and to get a wider audience. The purpose behind this channel was ultimately to build an audience, and that by the time that my first book would be released, I would have like a decent sized audience to purchase my book. That didn't exactly carry over, but the channel, has a like I think a second purpose in just trying to like find and promote like good media for people to consume. It's just like not just like hate watch shit, because it's bad. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help like this side of things. I got some ideas, and I think it'll go okay. Just gotta keep at it, keep trying things. Some of the promo videos did okay, like the King of the Hill videos, they did fine. But the people that watched those and like liked the video, that was cool. And it's not like their fault, but they just liked the video because they like thought it was funny or whatever. But the little like advertisement at the end for Dualhan. Like people didn't really like buy a copy if they watched that. Not from what I can tell. The majority of my like 18 sales, I would say like 12 or so are from like people like family and friends that I know like in real life. So I don't know. It didn't like do great in that way. I thought like the Sons of the Forest video would maybe catch in the algorithm a little bit. It did fucking horrible for views. Like one of the worst ones I've done. And I put a lot of time into that one. That did not fucking work out. But I got some other ideas. I'm not sure about like doing ads or whatever. I've tried some Amazon ads. I don't fucking understand it. It hasn't cost me anything. I think like 57 cents. But it hasn't done anything for me either. That's the end. That's it. I'm working on book 2 right now. I'm almost 3/4 of the way done with it. I should have like a first draft in mid-May. And then maybe a few months later, book 2's out. Hopefully this video was like interesting. I debated making this or not, but I thought there was like a story there. I thought some of it was like kind of interesting. So whatever, here it is. And like going forward, like I still want to do like book reviews and stuff like that and like indie books. I think that's going to be like a once a month kind of a deal. Because I don't think that really like expands the channel really. Like I don't know. Like I hope that doesn't sound like, but I don't think like doing like a trough video back to back to back is like good for views or good for expanding the channel. You know what I mean? But I'm still going to do them. But it'll probably be like once a month, which will be okay. It'll give me more time to like compile my thoughts and notes. So hopefully they'll be a little higher quality than they sometimes are. So that's it. But before you go, like I had one question, boys. I had one question. Are you tired of shitcoin? Free real estate? Are you tired of investing in gold and silver, stocks and bonds, cryptocurrencies, scams, all of them? You need money that works for you. You see what I'm saying? You're a smart guy. Boys, let me lay it out for you. I'm going to state some simple facts. 1, women like wine. 2, women like money. 3, women would consider dating an ugly man who owns a winery. It's true. She would think about it. She would ask how big the winery is. Like, ooh, he's kind of ugly. But she would think about it. Why are we not investing in a winery? That, of all my scams, of all my schemes, of all of my like rat in a tin shithouse ideas, that one has legs. A winery. Like, and it's not cheap. It's not something that just happens overnight. It does cost quite a bit of money, but think about it this way. Like with my $10,000, which is like a million pennies, like a million pennies. Can you imagine a million pennies? Can you hold a million pennies? That's so much. Like, wow, I can't even count that high. And like your contribution, which isn't nothing, like I appreciate it, of like $990,000, which isn't nothing, by the way. We would have enough to start our own little winery. Now, oh boys, it could be great. We can make food there. It'd have like fireplaces, snow, wood, stone. It would just be a nice, cozy little place. It'd be only for our people, of course. And it would be cool, right? And then using this winery to get a wife, I would then transfer ownership back to you so that you could say and legally claim that, yes, I do own this winery, and then you would be able to get a wife as well. It's a win-win situation. It's a win-win situation. And I'm a decent guy. I would transfer ownership back to you. Don't worry about it. But like writing books, like running a winery, that's not just going to turn a profit overnight. Like, you have to keep your dreams grounded. Like, it would be several years of running this winery, like 3-4 years, and then from there, take that money, and then we would then purchase the Biltmore estate. So it's not overnight, but there is a game plan. You can trust me with your finances. As you can tell from this video, I really know what I'm doing. Nothing if not earnest. There might be a Troth video on Sunday. I am just kind of way behind with everything. It was kind of a not good week for getting shit done. I got some stuff done. Not as much as I wanted. That's it. Hopefully this video is kind of interesting. Yeah. Also, I wanted to say, if you're kind of on the fence about the book, I will offer like a free PDF of Dullahan. It would have all the artwork and everything in it. And you can just like DM me on Twitter. I was also considering just posting it all for free on my Substack, just because like it's not really about the money. Like, it'd be great to make money off this, but like just to have people read it and give me your feedback, like good or bad, right? Because like just babying me or like being like soft with like blows or criticism, that doesn't help like readers, like, or potential buyers. And it doesn't help me if I just feel that, oh, I'm doing okay. Like, he said he liked it even though he felt it was shit. Yeah, just let me know if you want like a free copy. I don't give a shit. I would just ask that you would like post a review on like Amazon and like Goodreads. So that's actually it. Thank you and goodbye.